Welcome back to Quiet Minds, Rich Lives, everybody. I'm your host, Michael, and today we have another guest for you. She has a story that a lot of people would quietly recognize, even if they never said it out loud. For years, money was a source of stress in her marriage, something that felt heavy, confusing, and maybe even unresolved. And then, in a moment that changed everything, she lost her husband and became the only one responsible for her family's financial future. With three kids to care for and no roadmap for what came next, she had to figure things out in real time, while also carrying the weight of grief. What started as simply trying to stay afloat slowly turned into something much deeper. That is learning, understanding, and eventually taking full ownership of her finances and her life. Now, she helps other women do the same, not just manage money, but actually feel confident with it and change the way they see themselves in the process. Today's guest is Jessica. Jessica, welcome to Quiet Minds, Rich Lives. How you doing today?
I'm great, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being on here. So, take us back to the beginning. What did your relationship with money look like growing up? And did that shape the financial dynamic for you and your husband as a couple?
Um, I guess growing up, I never really felt like my parents struggled with money growing up. I always felt like, you know, me and my siblings kind of had the things we wanted, had the things we needed. It was never something that was obvious that we were struggling. Um, I did lots of different activities over the years, and my parents were always able to pay for those. I guess what really kind of started my awareness of money was when I got my first job. Um, when I got my first job, I all of a sudden became very financially independent. I wanted to pay for all of my own things. I didn't want my parents to buy my clothes or, buy other things for me. I wanted to take care of it myself. And I have always been a big saver, and so that was very important to me was to um save as much as I could. And so I think that kind of carried over into my marriage, because my husband was the exact opposite. He was um very much a spender, and so we did butt heads quite a bit because he wanted to spend money, I wanted to save it, and I was very financially independent on my own, but as a couple, we were very financially dependent, because we struggled, so we did have to rely on other people to help us
Yeah,
financially, which was hard for me, because that was not who I was, I guess.
I completely understand. I feel like I can relate to that on the same level that you're at, I would imagine, because I've been working since I was like I think 15 or 16, and I've been financially independent pretty much my entire life as well. And I'm very much a saver. And my wife is very much a spender sometimes. So it's kind of, I was speaking with my financial advisor about a year or two ago, and he was like, people tend to marry the opposite. Savers
Mm,
usually marry spenders and vice versa. And it's just trying to navigate that flow because her relationship with money and my relationship with money is two completely different things. Like her upbringing with money is completely different than mine. Given up the socioeconomic statues of like the 90s and 2000s at the time, and to
mhm,
various different states and cities and counties, all this stuff can vary too.
mhm,
Um, but yeah, I know previously when we were talking, you mentioned that money was a constant source of stress in your marriage. What
mhm.
did those conversations actually look like? Were you two on completely different opposite ends, or were you struggling together against the same wall?
Um,
This
we
might kind of correlate into or bleed into what you were just talking about just now, also.
Yeah, yeah, no, we were definitely on opposite ends. Like I said, he was a spender, I was a saver. He absolutely refused to let me budget, because I think he felt that budgeting was too restrictive, and he that meant he was going to have to cut back on some things, and so he was very against budgeting. I felt like it was something we needed to do to kinda help us manage our money because honestly, we didn't manage our money. That, managing money consisted of looking at our bank account maybe once or twice a week and seeing if we had money. So,
Right. Um, that's funny. How did you guys kinda meet in the middle with that, if you guys ever did?
um, honestly, I don't know that we really ever did. Um, I mean, you asked about mentioned money being a constant source of stress. I mean, it was like I think just about all, if most, if not all, of our arguments surrounded money. It was, um, he felt attacked because he felt like, or he took it personally. He felt that I was attacking him for not making enough, which was not true. That was something he put on himself. I never told him he didn't make enough to support the kids and I, because I was a stay-at-home mom on and off for years up until my youngest started kindergarten. Um, and so he put it on himself that he didn't make enough, which I never said. It was, I would question his spending. Why are we spending on this? Why are you taking out cash for this? Like, what are you taking out cash for? Because he would take out cash all the time. What is this for? Why are you spending so much money on fast food? Why are you spending so much money on at 7-Eleven in the morning on the way to work? Like, it was just little things that were adding up. And so it really was a constant source of stress. Like, I feel like I said, all of our conversations kind of centered around money. Um, and so it was just, we didn't talk about it much because it was such a big argument and
Yeah.
frustration and for both of us. So yeah.
Sorry about that. Sorry, I know it's never easy with it, when it comes to finances and marriage. Um, we've certainly had a for my wife and I, we've had to navigate around that whole thing, and just her money language is different than my money language.
Yeah.
And
And
I
I
think a lot of it's just, like, accepting it and just trying to work with it, like, adapt
right.
to it, you know?
Right. Right. I agree.
When your husband passed, were you suddenly the sole decision maker for your family's finances? What was the very first financial moment that forced you to sink or swim? I think you
Um
mentioned you kinda had some help earlier from probably from family members or friends, I would imagine.
um a little bit. I mean, his death was essentially the kind of the moment where I was like, do I continue going down this road of financial chaos, or do I learn how to manage my money and do better for the kids and I moving forward? And so that was kind of the deciding moment for me. And I, being the saver that I was, being the financially independent person that I was growing up, um, I was like, I'm gonna make this work. I'm going to learn how to budget. I'm going to learn how to manage money, and I'm going to do my best to create a better life, for the kids and I. And I, of course, I feel like I could do better, but I feel
Mhm.
like for the most part we've done pretty well. The kids and I were able to take a vacation, a couple years ago. My partner and I have been able to take a couple of overnight vacations. So, there's things that I can do now that I wasn't able to do before. Um,
Exactly.
so, um, I'm proud of where we are financially, um, where we are now versus where we were before. Um, So yeah, so his so to answer your question, yeah, his death was really that kind of like deciding moment for me of, do I sink or swim?
Good that you persevered through it, just like any person, I would imagine, would take accountability and ownership for it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
But, I know that grief is like an overwhelming weight to carry. How did you separate the emotional grief from the very practical, urgent financial decisions that you had to make, or was it even possible at the time?
Um, it was very hard to separate, I think, in the beginning. Um, I don't know that there were really very many urgent financial decisions that I had to make early on. Um, I did, get some help. My nephew had set up a GoFundMe account to help with like the memorial expenses and just expenses in general. Um, and I guess the first financial decision, the big one that I made, I guess, was um about 6, 7 months after he passed, I decided to go back to school. I knew that at the time I was working at a preschool, and I knew that I was not going to be able to continue working in that field and also be able to afford all the things. And so I had gone back to school years ago before my daughter was born, and so I decided I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to finish school so that I can get a better job so that I can provide for my kids. So that was kind of something I had gone back and forth on for a while. It was mostly can I afford this? Um, and so I did get to a place where I could, and so I did go back to school and I graduated with my bachelor's, and um it was
Congratulations.
ex thank you. It was hard. I graduated right around the year mark that my husband had passed, so it was exciting, but it was hard at the same time that he wasn't there to celebrate that with me. Um, but it was something I had, wanted to do for I think it was 11 years, 11-year
Mhm.
gap. So, it was exciting to be able to finally, um, accomplish that. So,
That's awesome. I'm one less than a year away from my bachelor's as well. So I'm looking forward to that. It should be beginning of next year, I think, is when I graduate with it.
that's
So
awesome. It's
very
very
excited for
exciting.
that
It's
too.
it's hard to do when you have kids and
Yeah,
work, and it's not easy to do, but so
I'm
it
sure
it feels good when you can.
it's not easy doing what I do now and everything I do now with work and then school on top of it. It's not easy. I can't imagine with kids it'd be even more
Yeah, yeah,
happily chaotic.
yes. We made it work. We made it work, so
Yeah. So with the 3 kids depending on you, were there I'm sure there were moments where you thought like, "I generally don't know how we're gonna get through this." If you did have those thoughts, what pulled you through it?
um,
Like, what are some advice you can give to others?
well, I'll be honest, emotionally, I still have those thoughts.
That's fair. That's fair. I think comes at different
Um,
stages of life.
yes, yes. I mean, my kids are doing good, but, they're all 15 to 19 now, and so
Wow.
raising teenagers, young adults, I struggle with that all the time.
Yeah.
Just going through the different seasons. Financially, um, we've had moments. I've actually been unemployed for the last 2 years, and building my business over those 2 years. So there have been several moments over the last 2 years where I'm like, "How are we gonna make it to," I've got this much time left to be able to be unemployed, and then I gotta find work. So there have been moments where I've been able to where I've asked myself, "How are we gonna get through?" And we've made it work. I've made it work, and you know, um, so it is, it is. I know I like to think that part of that is because of the budgeting I've done over the years,
Right.
the
I'm sure that
skills I've
did play a
learned,
big role in it.
the skills I've learned, because there's no way it would have if I had managed my money like I had in the past when I was married, there's no way I would have been able to go 2 years without working. Um, so, um, we make it work.
Yeah. Do you mind if I share what you do? Because I forgot to do an
Yeah,
intro.
no, that's fine.
So Jessica here is also a financial coach. She helps women specifically, if I'm not mistaken, with budgeting, planning their money, all that stuff for their future and things like
Mhm.
that. Is that correct?
Um, Not necessarily planning for their future. I'm because I don't want
Okay.
people to mistake that I'm a financial planner. I am not a financial
That's
planner.
true. That's
Yeah,
very
I am
true.
not a
Yeah.
financial planner.
I gotta
But
be careful with that as well on my end.
right,
'Cause I'm not an
right,
advisor or a planner yet.
right. I do I don't know what it is about budgeting, but I love to help people budget. I love doing my own budget. I don't know what it is about it, but
Yep.
it's fun
It's
to me.
cathartic.
It is. It's
It's kind of like I started recently doing a budget like this year, I think. Well, no, I did a little bit here and there beforehand, but I really like it just clicked this year for
Mhm.
me. I was like, I got like hyper fixated on it where I just like
Yes.
once a week I'm drinking my coffee, all that stuff. It's usually a Sunday morning where I go back to the previous week and just kind of go through what I went through and see
Yeah.
where I'm at in the future with it. And
Right.
I don't find it restrictive. I did in the beginning at first because I was, I guess, ignorant towards it, but it's more
Mhm.
so just planning than being restrictive.
Yeah.
And it's just finding out where, like, what money leaks you might have, things you might be paying for that you no longer use that you're still paying for with
Yes.
like subscriptions and stuff like that. You
Yes.
can cut back on that part, and then you have extra money to do, I don't know, what you want with it.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah, I also, when I first started budgeting, found it very restrictive, but I think a lot of it was I was still in that scarcity mindset of like, I
Yeah.
have to be restrictive because I haven't had this extra money like this before. And so,
Hmm.
it's that scarcity mindset. And so over the years, as I've learned more on how to budget and just about it in general, it is really about planning. Like,
Hmm.
um, I'm a, you know, I'm an avid competitive puzzler. And so I have a couple of competitions that I go to 2, 3 times a year. And so now I have learned to save for those in advance. And so that way I can still do all the fun things that I want to do. I can, pay for some of the things that my kids want to do. Um, I can take us out to eat if I want to without being like, oh man, I can't afford that. Like,
Right. Or,
it's not in the
sacrificing what
budget.
you want
Right.
for something
So,
cheaper for the kids to get
yeah.
what they want,
Right.
Yeah.
So I agree. A budget it really should not be restrictive. It's meant to support the life that you want to live.
Hmm.
And that's going to look different for everybody.
That
So,
is true.
and it's, it's important to know what you value, what's important in your life so that you can decide what you want your money to go towards. So, yeah.
So that brings me to this next question I have. What's your biggest money belief or habit that you had to completely unlearn? And one that had been holding you back for years without you even realizing?
Um it actually kind of comes from what we just talked
The
about.
budget? Yeah.
Yeah,
I figured it would've.
it's that scarcity. It was for me. It was that scarcity mindset. It was going from only paying for the absolute necessities to going to paying for the things that you know we actually enjoy doing, things that make life worth living. Um, and so that was really hard for me um, to change over the last few years, especially because I spent, all of my marriage. I mean, some of it's mom guilt. Like us as moms don't like to spend money on ourselves and do things for ourselves. But it's also that I've never felt like I could because we didn't have money, and any money we did have had to go to pay for all of your bills and your expenses. And I wanted to make sure my kids were taken care of. And so it's been really hard for me to unlearn that I can actually do things for myself and I can do things that I love to do and spend money on things that I want. And that's okay. And so that has been something that I've still struggle with a little bit,
Yeah,
um, but
it's human.
yeah, but it's not nearly as what it was, and the thing the I wouldn't even say it's much of a struggle now, it's really just it's that what do I wanna say yes to now that I'm gonna say no to later versus what do I wanna say no to now so that I can say yes to something else later. So it's really just, that give and take and that trade-off. So
The
that's
balancing
kind of
game.
yes. So that's kind of what I guess it is now is just that negotiation of what do I really wanna spend my money on, more so than I can't afford this kinda thing.
Mhm. It's my wife had to, kinda train me into not saying, "I can't afford this," but into saying, "I can't afford it right now."
Yes. I see it yes, yes, I
And that
yeah,
has helped me shift my mindset because with me with saving, it was very, anxiety driven kinda saving. 'Cause I grew up with
yeah,
no money,
yeah.
or not having any money to where, like, I have it now that I'm like, "I gotta hoard it because
Mhm.
I don't wanna go back to how it was when I was a kid."
I'm
You know what I
very
mean?
s yeah, I'm very similar where because I've always been such a saver and I went so many years without being able to save money that yeah, I'm very similar. I think it's kind of a trauma effect.
Yeah.
Um, so, which is it sucks, but
But
it
you know
is what
what?
it is.
It's just it's very human. It's
Yes.
very human. It's very I'm sure we're not the only ones like that. I'm sure most people that would stumble across this podcast would probably be the same way as well.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But so correct me if I'm wrong. You now specifically help women take control of their finances. Why is it women? And if I'm wrong about that, then that's great. But what patterns do you see showing up repeatedly in your clients that you recognize from your own story?
Um, I I chose mostly to work with women because, uh women seem to be kind of the underdogs, I guess, if you will, when it comes to money. Um, and plus, as being a woman, I can relate to women more than
Right.
I can men. But I'm happy to work with men as well because we all need help with money, and uh, and money isn't gender biased, so
No, it's just a tool.
right, money's gonna everybody needs money, and it's gonna you know, affect you in some form or fashion regardless of what gender you are, so, but,
Kinda interesting because my clients, I focus mostly like, I'll help anyone, but who I focus with is people with, like, a mental health diagnosis or, like, addiction
Mhm,
that they're over and past, and they're trying to get their life in order. Because
mhm,
that's something that touches home with me personally.
right,
Of course, I'll help anyone, but, you know.
right, and why I chose woman is because of kind of what I see other women needing help with in from what I experienced, so, um, nothing against stay-at-home moms, I think being a stay-at-home mom is great, I think if you can do it, by all means do it. I was a stay-at-home mom on and off for years. Um, and even being, even with stay-at-home wives, women who have grown children, but they are still at home, they're not
Mhm.
working. With those stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home wives, I really encourage them to, um, first of all, if they're not the ones that are responsible for their finances, or they're not the priority, or not priority, the primary um, person in charge of their finances, I deeply encourage them to know all the things, know all the passwords, your bill providers, when your bills are due, know all the information because, I have heard of people, widows who lost their
Mhm.
spouse and they're like, I don't know any of the passwords. I don't know. bank account information, so they struggle to get into their bank, so they can't even access their own money.
Right.
Um, they don't know when their bills are due, so then things get turned off, you know? Um, they don't know what debt they have because their husband dealt with all that. So, um, being in the know with all of your finances, if you're not the primary person that does that, is so important. Um,
Yes, it is.
and then I really encourage women who are stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home wives to, uh, find some way to bring in money on your own, not necessarily to contribute to the household, but to provide for yourself in a way because
Collectively say it's mine.
right, because you really never know when something's going to happen, and I'm living proof of that. I unexpectedly lost my husband. It was something that just happened literally overnight. So, you never know if a spouse is going to be disabled or and not be able to work. You never know if a spouse is going to lose their job. You never know if the spouse is going to pass away. So, having something to fall back on, I think, is really important. And um if you can go back to school, maybe if that's something that would help, you know, um, your ability to get even a part-time job somewhere. Um, I see um, a lot of single moms who are just, I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. And it kind of goes to that mentality of I can't afford it. Well, it's I can't do this yet. It's you can do this. You just need to take the baby steps. You just need to learn how. There's so much information out there. It's hard. It's so easy to get overwhelmed
Mhm.
and lost in the sea of information. Um
It's very true. So I
so
guess it
I
kind of bleeds into my next question that I had too, which was just going to be, what was the most common thing that you hear women tell themselves about money that simply isn't?
Yeah, it's really just, a lot of women are just, I can't learn this, Um I'm too old to learn this. Um you know Sometimes if they're married, why do I need to learn this? Um, so I think all of that's important. You need to learn it so you can be financially independent if the need ever arises. You can do it. You know, you could never learn how to, you had to learn how to walk. You had to learn how to talk. Those are things you've learned. You can learn how to manage money. It just takes time. It's not a overnight thing that you can learn. It takes some time. Um,
It's not about being perfect either. It's
but
about
yeah,
being
it's
consistent,
right. Progress over
showing up
perfection.
for your, yep,
Yep,
showing up
yep,
for yourself, all that stuff.
yeah. So
Um,
it's definitely doable. It's not easy. It's hard. It's going to take work on on your part. Um, but anybody can learn how to manage their money.
that's true. So with that being said, what does financial confidence actually feel like for the women that you work with? What changes beyond just the numbers?
Um, you know, Money affects every aspect of our life. And I think that when you are confident with your money, I think it changes every other aspect of your life. So many people lose sleep over their money. They stay awake at night. When is that bill
Mhm.
due? How am I going to get the lights back on? How am I going to pay rent tomorrow? All those things. And relationships, money affects all of our relationships with our significant other, with our coworkers, our family, our friends. Um, it affects our health. Like, that's i- when you're stressed, your stress affects your health. You may gain weight, you may lose weight, you may just overall not feel good. You may overeat, you may undereat. Um, it just money affects everything, and I think when you feel good about your money and how it's working for you, I think that really does change how everything else is working in your life.
That's true. That's very true. I could not agree anything. I couldn't agree more, basically what I was trying to say. I couldn't agree more
Yeah,
with that.
yeah,
Because, I have talked about that stuff on previous episodes of my podcast, about how it affects, like, stress, all that stuff. Even if you don't have, like, any kinda, like, mental health issues going on, it
mhm,
can temporarily cause something to kinda stir up in the moment,
yes,
um, to where you do feel like you may be going crazy, when in reality, you're not crazy. It's just it's just chaotic at that with that one subject matter. You know
mhm,
what I mean?
mhm, yeah.
But, if the version of you from about 5 to 7 years ago could hear this conversation today, what do you think would surprise her most?
Um, that I'm on a podcast.
There you go.
I'm a very introverted person, and so, never would have imagined myself being on a podcast 5, 7 years ago. Um, but also just, I mean, 5, 7 years ago, I don't think I think my past self would be like, "Oh my gosh, I never thought you could do, all those things that you can do because you learned how to manage your money." Like I said, I've been able to go on small vacations,
Yeah,
um, do things with my kids that I never thought we could do. Um, you know, Money is not a constant source of stress for me anymore like it used to be. Um, and I think my 5, 7-year self would be like, "Really? Like, there's another side to that? Like, I didn't know another side of that existed." Um, so, um, yeah, I think being on the other side of that financial chaos, living in it, you don't really it's hard to believe that there's another side to it.
yeah. That's very true, and I can relate to that 120,000 million cajillion percent.
Yeah.
Because me 7 years ago was a completely different person I am today. I was not to be off topic, but just to give it, like, a little brief background of it, but I was, like, 7 years ago, I was fresh out of a mental hospital,
Mm,
kinda, getting clean, all that stuff, and my
mhm.
finances were nothing like they are now, and I was
Right.
living in my nephew's bedroom, being 29, 30 years old at the time. And my nephew has to share a bedroom with his brother, so it's very humbling, very embarrassing at the same time. But seeing where I am now, like, I'm happily married, all that stuff, it's
Yeah.
just stable, clean. I don't think about abusing, anything anymore. Um, yeah, life is
Yeah.
beautiful, and you surprise yourself.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
now I'm just like, if something happens, like, if there's something hard that's coming up, I'm like, "I've gone through this in my life, I
Yes.
can get through this too."
Yes.
And it just kinda builds that positive reinforcement.
Yes. I agree with that. I can yep. I feel that.
Gotcha. So, I have one final question for you, Jessica. What do you want women to walk away with after working with you? Not just financially, but in how they see themselves.
I want women to feel empowered, that they can kind of take on anything that comes their way. Um, I love working with women who just want more out of life. I want to help women move from that survival mode to a thriving life where they can do whatever they want to do. Um, I see women and I was kind of that person too, see them in, relationships that no longer serve them, and they're like, I want to leave, but I can't financially afford to, you know, but helping that woman get their finances under control and in a situation where they can leave, that opens up all sorts of doors for them. Helping women who are ready to leave the job that's, you know, they feel underpaid, or maybe it's a toxic work environment, but they don't feel like they can because, maybe they're the primary breadwinner in their home, or maybe they're a single mom and they're like, I can't just leave. And so uh, I want women to feel like they can take on anything that comes their way, and moving forward, when something comes up, a financial decision, especially when something comes up, they're like, okay, I can walk myself through this confidently, and I can figure out the next step and the next plan of action.
I like that. It's beautiful. So,
Thank you.
Jessica, where can people find you?
Um,
Your
so
socials, your
yeah,
website, stuff like that.
so I'm on Facebook. My business page is Rising Phoenix Financial Coaching. I'm also on Instagram. It's at Rising Phoenix Coach. Uh, I have a LinkedIn page. I'm not super active on it.
Neither am I.
But there's one out there that exists. And I am actually in the process of starting my own YouTube channel. It's very, very new. So there's I think one video right now. So
And that's a start. That's a
yes, it's a
start.
start. So
Okay, this whole
um
thing's very new for me as well, but you know
yeah,
what? I'm enjoying it every step of the way. That's all
yeah.
you gotta do is just enjoy it.
I'm excited. I have some really fun, great ideas. I at least I feel like they're good ideas. So
Yeah,
I'm excited about it. I just, I gotta get past my nerves.
yeah.
So
It it gets more natural the more you do it because 'cause I'm
yeah.
very introverted as well. Um, where I'm hosting a podcast is crazy, but, that's an entire different topic for a different day, I guess.
Right.
But, I have to have a script and, like, structure with things, so that
Uh-huh.
makes it easier for me because 'cause I've tried doing things in the past, just, like, talking in front of a camera sort of thing, wasn't working out very well.
Yeah.
Until I had, like, a script, and then I started doing it off video for a little bit with just audio, and then now I'm doing video and
Uh-huh.
audio. It's just gotten so much easier. I'm just more relaxed about it now,
Yeah. You just
sort of
gotta
thing.
find what
You know what I
works for
mean?
you.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for being on the show today. If this episode resonated with anyone, please leave a follow, a review, anything to help the podcast out. If you want Jessica as your coach, I will leave her links to her website and her socials in the description below. Till then, thank you for coming on, Jessica, to Quiet Minds, Rich Lives. I greatly do appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you,
Until
Michael, for
then,
having me on.
you're welcome, Jessica. Until then, everybody, take care.